All right, welcome everyone to the November regular meeting of the Groton Complete Streets Advisory Committee. I'm Brian Kent, Chairman. With me is Cindy Berry, member. She's remote. Patrice Granatowski, member. Lori Hendrickson and Tom Olson. Not in attendance today is Mark Berry, Parks and Rec Director. He has a scheduling conflict, and Greg Hanover, Public Works Director, can't make it, but I have Greg's report that we routinely receive from him, so I'll be able to cover for him. As far as our next agenda item, have any members had any communications they'd like to report?
No.
Okay. Have you had a chance to look at the September minutes? Does everyone feel comfortable approving September minutes?
Yes. Move acceptance of the minutes from September. I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All right, minutes are accepted. Now, we'll get right down to new business. We have a presentation from Amy Watkins. Hi, Amy. Nice to see you.
Hello.
She is the manager, Injury Prevention Center, and director of Safe Kids Connecticut, Watch for Me CT. And Amy gave the Connecticut Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Board a presentation a couple of months ago that was just really terrific. And I serve on that board as vice chair, and I asked Amy if she could rerun that presentation for us, and she graciously accepted. And so I'll just let you take over, Amy.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen and then we're going to hope that you see the correct one. Let me do slideshow from beginning. Let's see. Are you seeing with the notes or without?
Without notes, so it looks perfect.
Oh, it's perfect. Excellent. Great. Okay, here we go. So I don't know if folks have heard about Watch for Me CT. It was started in 2017. It is a statewide campaign. Our goal is to reduce bike and pedestrian fatalities and serious injuries in Connecticut. It is funded by the CTDOT. It's really their program, and they don't have internally the staff to manage some of these programs. So they give grants to partners in the community. And because Connecticut Children's has an injury prevention center, we received this grant and we manage this program for them. So it's not just children focused, that's a little confusing, and it's not just Hartford focused, it's the whole state and it's all ages. So why do we do this? Because traffic deaths continue to be a problem. We had a few very, very bad years around COVID. It's getting a little bit better in some respects, but in other respects, it's not. So these are the latest numbers that I have from just a few days ago. We are at 224 road deaths. That's people in and out of cars. That, as you can see, where that compares to previous years. So again, a little bit better than say 2022, but still very high. Here's some of the trends. So our in-vehicle deaths are slightly down, which is wonderful, but our pedestrian and especially bicyclist deaths are way up. The last time we had this many bicyclist deaths, it was 2016. So this is, it's been a bad year for bicyclists. Motorcyclists had a very bad year last year. That's better this year. So last year in Connecticut, more than 1,600 crashes involved pedestrians and bicyclists. So that means every 5 days we had 23 crashes. This is with bikes and peds specifically, 3 serious injuries and 1 ped death, ped or bicyclist death every 5 days. And these are actual pictures of people who we've lost in Connecticut in the last few years. So it's really a devastating problem for many of us and communities and families, everyone that's affected by these deaths. So Watch for Me, how we try to address this, we're primarily an education campaign. So if you've heard of the 3 E's, the education, enforcement, and engineering. So we're the education piece, but we do educate around infrastructure and engineering and around enforcement, because we do think that all of those parts are needed. Education is actually kind of the weakest way to make change. The really designing better streets and enforcing laws is very impactful and can't be overstated. So, but we're here to try to bring attention to this issue, educate people on how they can be safer on the roads, and help towns, put some of these practices into play. So we do that with a statewide media campaign. We do a lot of education and awareness activities in communities. We provide a lot of educational resources. We work closely with towns by request to do some education, and we like to collaborate with many of the bike ped groups that are across the state. There's a lot of great work going on. So our media campaign, this is how it started. This is 2017, 2018, so real basic, and this is how it's going. We just won an Emmy for our mini documentary called Ghost Shoes. It's about a 9-minute long documentary that follows a person who puts the memorials on roadsides, and a family that lost a loved one, and myself, who is talking about why this is an important issue. So we have come a long way in a few years. We have a lot of different types of messaging, and I have the next few slides are going to be just to give you an example of the kinds of things that we have, which, by the way, are we don't own them. Anybody can use them, download them, share them, put their logo on them. It is all free. Our services are free. We're completely covered. And basically, if you see anything here that you like, that you'd want to use in your town, we are happy to make that happen. So one of the things we did was we kind of tried to reconnect the issue to actual people. So we started a campaign a few years back that had, watch for, and we had different people. So watch for grandparents, watch for Cindy, watch for students. We do a lot of education around some basic things people need to know, like yielding to people in crosswalks. We do outreach around certain times of the year. So Halloween is one, for example. Back to school is another one. Pedestrian Safety Month is October. So we do some outreach around that. We do some basic bike information. We're not really bicycle riding educators, but we do have some things about, hand signals and how to use various bike infrastructure. And we want people to do things like be visible, etc. We also do some cross-topic education. So although we're not a drunk driving education program, driving distracted, driving drunk, speeding through work zones, these are all things that can wind up in deaths to pedestrians and bicyclists and other folks. These are big issues. So we do a lot of messaging and sharing messages around those topics, because though we are focused on bikes and peds, we're really trying to bring the number of all road deaths down, no matter who the person is. And all of these things are very interconnected. Work zone is something that we've been hearing a lot about lately. Connecticut's doing a lot of great work with their slow down, move over. We do a lot of education around that too, because we actually lose a lot of people on our highways that are out of their car. So even highway education is important when you're talking about pedestrian safety. We have a sub-campaign called Words to Live By, and this was created after noticing a trend of people over the age of 50 being more likely to die in crashes and bearing the brunt of having more crashes per population than other groups. So we partnered with AARP, and we did a specific campaign around being careful around older pedestrians. We also have a sub-campaign called the Pedestrian Rules, which is about the law that went into effect a few years ago. That was the one where it changed where pedestrians need to stand. to indicate that they want to cross a crosswalk. You no longer have to step into the crosswalk. You can be on the curb. There's a lot of confusion about that law. People do not understand. They think it means that people can just run out wherever they want. That's not true. So we tried to do some education around that, and it has its own website. This year, that's our back to school campaign this year. Adorable little things hanging in the car there. So we did that through the end of August and into September. We also did a bus safety campaign. We focused it on Waterbury, where they had like 10% of all of our ped deaths last year were in Waterbury, which is a huge burden for one city. So one of the problems they identified was people getting off buses and kind of scattering in every direction. And we wanted to remind people that that if they walk out in front of a bus, that a car may not see them. And we created a slate of awareness day tiles. So every sort of transportation related week or day or month, we created tiles, and we're circulating those to any town that's interested, and we co-brand. And the idea is that we're all coming out with say the same messages. Those come with captions as well that explain the what the day or week is about. And that way we're trying to get the same thing in front of people so it starts to stick with them. This time of year, we have a huge push for visibility because pedestrian deaths go way up from starting in November and going through January. Just 2 people were hit, and doesn't sound very good just this morning. So, this is something that we want people to know, like normally when you're driving home from work in the summer, it's bright. Now we're driving home at 4:30 and 5 when it's dark. So it's very hard to see people. People are walking, around, walking their dogs, doing all kinds of things. And they're not even thinking, oh, it's 4:30. I probably should have something bright on. So we're trying to remind people from both sides, whether they're driving or they're walking or biking, that you want to make yourself seen and you want to look out for pedestrians because this is a very dangerous time of year. We also just launched a parents and kids page with very specific information for different age groups and to activity pages and things like that to help parents talk to kids about being safe on the road. And this is hot off the press. We launched an e-bike page just like last week. And if you go to our website, it pops up in this message pops up, so you can click right on it. Or if you navigate away from that, you can find it up at the navigation at the top. We're very involved in e-bike safety right now because there's a new law around it, and there's a lot of confusion about what an e-bike is. And there's a lot of things available online that are advertised as e-bikes that do not meet the Connecticut definition of an e-bike and are not safe. For example, they may have non-functioning pedals. They're just like basically motorcycles or auto cycles with fake pedals on, so they can be called e-bikes. They have very high wattage and speed, and they don't meet the Connecticut definition, and they can be dangerous, especially when kids are getting excited about riding e-bikes. All their friends are doing it. And so if you put a 11 or 12-year-old who doesn't have a lot of on-bike experience on something fast and heavy, it can lead to some very bad things. And what we've seen is a 3-fold increase in emergency room visits to Connecticut Children's ED as a result of e-bikes in the last year compared to in 2025 compared to 2024. So it's a real issue, and we just want people to know what they're buying and how to operate these bikes safely. So what kinds of things are we doing besides, having our website and our printed materials, our campaign? So we do a lot of actual work in communities. We give presentations and trainings. We do walk audits. We go to a lot of events. We do educate about infrastructure. So again, like that's how we support engineering. If people want to know, like, what are the benefits of roundabouts, or, dispelling myths about roundabouts, for example, we do that. We give out helmets and bike lights. We do a lot of conferences and press events, and we work closely with municipalities who request us to do so. We work with community members and bike ped groups that are volunteer based that are interested in doing some things in their community. We have a bi-monthly newsletter, our website, and a robust social media account. We just had this event. This is pictures from our first year that we did it, but we just had this event on Sunday. It was the World Day of Remembrance for road traffic victims. We had an event in New Britain, and it was amazing and moving and beautiful. So that's another thing that we do. If you know someone who's passed away, either in a vehicle or out of a vehicle, and you want to come to that event or speak at that event, please let us know. So what kinds of things do we have to help you do your work? One is our website, where we have a lot of data. So this is actually an old screenshot, because data and resources are now separate items on the website. So the data page will have the last few years, all the crashes, injuries, all the numbers that you need. And the resources page has more of the educational tools, but you can get a lot of great data. For example, this is 2025 to date, tells you how many crashes we've had, how many fatalities we're at, how many injuries we're at. And you can see at the top that you can scroll back through to 2020. We also have a map where you can see the blue bicyclists down in the New Haven area. Those are bicyclist deaths that did not involve a car. We just started tracking that with the rise of e-bikes. We want to get a handle on how many people are just crashing and passing away and not even involving a vehicle. And then the rest are pedestrians and some bicyclists. You can see by the icon there. You can see how they spread out across the state. And if you click on any of them, if you hover over any of them, or you click the little expand next to the W at the top, you can get the information about that crash, where it was, who it was, a little bit more, maybe a link to a news story. You can find many social media tiles and other downloadable, shareable things on our website. That's under the resources page. For example, this was a slate that we did for Pedestrian Safety Month that focused on all the different aspects, from after crash care to, pre-crash prevention, etc. Here's an example of some of our education around infrastructure. There were a lot of, there's been a new interest in having roundabouts. It's been going on for a few years, but there's a lot of confusion in the community. There's a lot of myths. So we do a lot of education around dispelling those myths and letting people know how they can ride safely in a roundabout. If you're doing any kind of adding new infrastructure or things like RFBs, we have flyers they're geared toward the community. So what we've done is taken information from the T2 Center that they might share with engineers and town leaders. And we've distilled it down to what can the average person, what do they need to know? They don't need to know all the technical ins and outs, but they might want to know, what is this thing? How does it help my community? Why should I not be against it? How do I use it? So that's what we've done. This is just a sample of some of the ones that we've had. And how do we work with towns? So we do a lot of social media for towns. We have a design firm that we work with. We can co-brand. So if you see the bus stop arm that has got a Stamford logo, actually the one below it as well. So for Pedestrian Safety Month, Stamford wanted to co-brand the tiles. We take care of that. We send them the package. They can share it on their social media pages. The bottom on the other side there, that's Norwalk. They implemented leading pedestrian intervals, and they wanted something, they specifically requested that we create something to let cars know that they now have to look for pedestrians in the crosswalk before they turn, because now they have the concurrent signals with the LPI. And then the top corner is we worked with the Trails Council, the Farmington Valley Trails Council. There were a lot of these RFBs were established. So we did social media tiles from the perspective of the driver and also from the perspective of the person crossing, having them hit the button versus this one here where you see the person has the flashing light and they're waving at the driver. So some of these are requests that people make and some are that they see what we've done and they want to be co-branded. We sat down with Simsbury, and what we'll usually do is we'll sit down with whoever the town asks. You know, in this case it was the police, and it was a local advocate, and they said these are the issues we're seeing in our town. People are driving too fast. People are walking around at dark with dark clothing on. We can't see them, and people are not stopping for pedestrians. So we created a specific campaign for them, and their logo is on there as well. Here's more of those awareness day tiles. There's Pedestrian Safety Month, School Bus Safety Week, the World Day of Remembrance. So some places like West Hartford are already sharing these. Feel free to get in on those as well if you like. We also can create personalized educational sheets for a town. This is Stratford. They did some infrastructure changes, including adding bike lanes and adding an area in front of a firehouse that had some painted hatching on the road that people didn't know what that was. So we actually have pictures from the town and descriptions of what these things are and how you operate in them. So we can do things like that as well. So very specific to a town. And we do not work in a silo. It's very important to us that we are working in partnership and supporting and sharing ideas with other people who are doing this great work. So these are some of the committees that we sit on. I'm the vice president now of Bike Walk Connecticut. I'm on the Trails Council, but we're also on the Vision Zero Council. We do a lot of the stuff with the COGS, etc. So we want to be involved, sharing, listening, exchanging ideas. These are some of the towns we've partnered with in the last 2 years, maybe. So all over the state, it doesn't matter where you are. You don't have to be in Hartford, as I said. And we've partnered with, this is just, again, a selection of groups that we've partnered with. We work with the T2 Center, Safe Routes to Schools, AAA, just a lot of different, even Sustainable CT. I mentioned that we are talking a lot about e-bikes lately. So we had a lot of, because we're connected with so many different groups and people, we were hearing from many angles that people thought this was an issue that needed to be addressed. And so we took the initiative to get everybody together and say, whoever's interested in this topic, let's get on the same page. Let's talk about what each of us knows, what we don't know, what we want people to know, how can we tackle this? And so we created an e-bike working group. These are some of the people that are on it. We are now in the subgroup phase of that, working on education, ordinances, and consumer protection. So this is something that is in process. Basically, our goals are to make sure everybody understands the law correctly, they're sharing the correct information, finding out where the gray areas are that still need clarification, creating some communication for the public so that they know what they're doing, they're not buying the wrong thing, and discuss some possible legislative recommendations. So that is it. Does anybody have questions about what we do? Does anything appeal to you that maybe your town could use or your group could use?
Well, as far as Tom Olson, from the perspective of pedestrian safety and stuff, I think one of the issues that I currently hear is everything in downtown, the Mystics, business district area there is a prime area where for pedestrians crossing the street whenever they want and all this kind of stuff. I just didn't know if there's an approach for these historic districts, slant, high tourist areas that we have to support here in town. Have you been challenged with that in any other areas within the state?
That hasn't come up. So I spent a week down there in Mystic this summer, and I was really amazed at how well the drivers behaved in that stretch in your shopping district. You know, they really, many of them seem to drive very slowly, and they're stopping for people. They're stopping at the crosswalk every time there's someone in it. So you're actually probably doing better than some places are, because the more pedestrians you have, the safe, I mean, they can't be ignored, because there's such a volume. So the more people that are there, the slower cars have to go. I mean, you have a lot of crosswalks available, so hopefully people are using them. If they're not, you could suggest something like an enforcement activity, maybe even a positive enforcement activity that's engaging with people and not penalizing them, but saying, we notice you just crossed there, that could be dangerous. So there's the problem though is, in an area like that, many people they're transient. Maybe they're there for a week, they're there for a few days. And so even educating them isn't going to really change what happens on the street too much. So, but the locals who are driving through seem to be doing a pretty good job driving respectfully. But you raise an excellent point, because we do have a lot of communities where there's downtowns and a lot of people walking. And so that can be an issue, but safety in numbers, the more pedestrians you have in an area, the more that cars are kind of forced to reckon with them and slow down. I don't know if that answers your question, but it hasn't come up yet. A lot of times it's, streets where people are driving extremely fast in places that are more rural, like Simsbury or even New Milford, etc. And we're just trying to get people to slow down in general.
Thank you.
Amy, if the town of Groton wanted to collaborate with you on, let's say, a campaign for pedestrian and bike safety, what would be the steps that you would require or you would expect as far as contact and then, lines of communication and that sort of thing? Because we are a committee of the town, so, we are connected to the town government. Could we just ask for a project and then have the authority to work with you, or do you need some kind of authorization from, the town manager or any other entity here in our town?
We don't need anything but a willing partner. We don't care. Every town is different. Some towns, like Anna's off to Bethel right now, and they want to have where she's presenting to the town manager and the police because they need to get them on board. We just launched a pace car pledge, and so she's answering questions. So some towns insist that their town planners be involved. It's not us though. We will work with anybody. Like I said, when we met with Simsbury, it was the police. When we met with New Milford, it was somebody at the library and some volunteers in the community. So the steps would be, who's ever interested in working with us, you'd reach out, you would compile the people that you'd want to be or that need to be involved. And we could come down and visit you, or we could do a virtual meeting, and we identify the problem areas. What are the things that you want to focus on? And then we take that back and create an education action plan, which is a working document. We kind of summarize what we talked about and what we recommend as things that can be implemented. And then we send it to you and you decide yes, we want to do this, blah, blah. And then we'll set out who are the key people for that activity or that initiative, who needs to be involved, what kinds of things are your responsibility and what kinds of things are our responsibility. Now, most of it is stuff we do for you. Things that fall under your responsibility would be providing your town logo, getting at all the permissions that you are required to get, if you are required to get them. If you go with a social media campaign, you might want to contact other branches of the town government that have websites or social media pages and ask them to share so that people are seeing it across town platforms. But we try to make it as easy as possible. We have no requirements and no charges, no things on our end. We are prepared to work with a town in whatever capacity works for them, whether it's one small thing or a multifaceted thing. We're very, very flexible. We're just, even if it's the little, you just want one social media town, whatever you need, we really are very flexible to whatever you need at the time.
Great, thank you. Are any other questions or comments for Amy? Well, thank you very much, Amy. It's been very informative and gives us something to think about because we are interested in expanding our scope. Being down here in the southeast corner of the state, we're not as exposed to the activities of organizations like you. We're not getting as much of the social media coverage here. And so it's great to learn about what you guys are up to, and we'll think about ways that we might be able to partner with you.
Yeah, take a look at our website sometime when you have a second. Go to the resources page and look through and see the kinds of messages that we have, and think about what things you're seeing the most that you care most about. And then we strategize together and come up with a plan. But you can get a kind of a feel for the different types of things that we educate around by visiting the page. And if there's anything you like there, again, you're free to download it, share it, steal it, do whatever you want with it.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Should I hang on for the meeting or?
You're welcome to if you want. We've got local business to cover, and so feel free to hang around if you like.
All right,
But-
I might hang on and hear what kinds of things you guys are working on, if you don't
Okay.
mind. All
Great.
right,
Sure,
nice to
not
meet
at all.
everybody. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
having me.
Thanks.
Thanks.
All right. So that was great. So the next item that really ties into the Safe Kids Connecticut is a suggestion that we as a committee look forward to next year's Bike to School calendar and ways perhaps that Groton can participate in the Back to School movement. And I'm happy to report that the Bike to School program in Connecticut has come a long way in the last couple of years. It's been funded. There is a full-time director. I've got some information that I'm going to pass out to everybody so that you can at least see what's going on with Back to School Connecticut currently. And it's based out of the Department of Transportation, so it's funded through DOT. The coordinator, her name is Bridget Moriarty, and she's been on the job less than a year, but she's been doing a fantastic job. She has reported to the Bike Ped Board about what she does, and she visits schools around the state almost continuously. She's in such high demand. And if Groton's school system were interested in having the state coordinator visit, she would be more than happy to come and talk to any organization. So we could have Bridget give us a similar presentation on what she's been doing. We could do that perhaps at our next meeting to prime us for some outreach, because it really has to be a partnership with the local school administration, and at a minimum with a particular school. I think, and Amy, you can back this up, but in my observations, it's the elementary schools up to, say, middle school where you can hope for the best participation. By the time the kids are in high school, it's probably not going to engage them very much to talk about doing this sort of thing in an organized way.
So she does have the Vision Zero Schools of Distinction thing. So sometimes you can get your high schoolers to work on a project related to bike ped safety, and then they would be recognized by her program. But yeah, I think for the most part, it's easier to engage with younger kids on some of this stuff. Yeah.
So if any of us on the committee have a contact with the school board or the school administration, I think it'd be good to reach out. I have recently gotten to, no, not really no, but I've had some communication with an employee in the school district named Clint Kennedy. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah.
Patrice, you and Tom, and he's very interested in getting involved in some events. Now, we didn't have a chance to talk about walking to school programs, but he has some ideas about some bike and walk events. I ran into him at the pump track, and he was very enthusiastic about this. So we have some things to think about. You can see that the state is planning a winter walk to school day on February 4th. So something perhaps for us to think about.
May I?
Sure. Go ahead, Patrice.
The only thing that I would say, I think Mr. Kennedy is probably on the right track with trying to do events because our whole district is a magnet district. And so you have kids from all over the town, and it is impractical for many of them to be able to, they can't walk to school.
Mhm.
And especially the way our town is set up with, we're working on improving that. But so I don't think the actual walk to school thing would get a whole lot of traction. You might get a cluster of kids maybe by Thames River or maybe by GMS even. But even if you look at, GMS, you look at Kolnaski School, you look at the high school, it makes it difficult to bike because they're all up on top of hills. So unless you have an e-bike, we have a couple of kids that ride to school, but they have e-bikes. So the actual getting to school on foot or bike might be an issue. So I think maybe more of the events would be a better angle for it, similar to what we did with the traffic garden opening.
Okay.
Educational events that we could hold at different places rather than trying to have, or rather than having an expectation that we're going to get a lot of kids walking or biking at this point. Does that make sense?
Sure. That does. Yeah.
And just as a follow on, I'm involved with Groton Open Space Association. They're tied in with the Go Groton effort, and that's where Mr. Kennedy is he's part of that effort.
Oh, okay.
So you may want to, I echo everything that she just said, that the practicality of it is hard in this arena for this particular type of event, but not to say that the educational threads don't need to be, there's some research there. There's also on the Trails Court, I'm also on the Trails Coordinating Task Force, and we do have a representative from the Board of Ed on that. And maybe I forget the guy's name, and I don't know how after with the re-election and stuff. I think we might be appropriate after they have get everybody installed next month or whatever, as far as on how they designate who's going to be supporting each of the committees.
Okay.
But through the Trails Course Task Force, it might be appropriate to using their representative to contact him for the Board of Ed efforts.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, definitely talk to Clint about Groton.
Yeah.
Get outside Groton. That's their,
Yeah.
that's
Their
they have
efforts.
grants and they're advocates for getting kids outside. So it might be appropriate. I'm thinking for Northeast Academy, it's in a neighborhood, as well as Farnham. Again, a lot of Navy kids. But Clint is instrumental in Go Groton, and so if you've got contact with him, talking about coordinating with Go Groton.
Great. All good. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to move the meeting along because we have a 4:30 sign off, at least for you, and our remote has to be turned off. Is that right?
No, somebody has to turn it off when the meeting is done.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And
So as long as we can handle it.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, gotcha. Okay. All right then. You can relax. Okay. So the next item is just to give you a little bit of an update on what's going on with the Groton Pump Track and what the pump track potential is for next year. And so in my role as president of Bike Groton and in the way that Bike Groton has been involved intimately with the pump track project, so we have been talking to the Parks and Rec department. which is very interested in programming activities at the track. And those activities could involve actual classes where members of the community sign up through the registration program at Parks and Rec. And there's a set schedule. There may be a fee involved. The experience of Parks and Rec programming and other kinds of programming is if you offer free classes, you often lose your participants very quickly because they don't have any skin in the game, so to speak. So there may be a fee involved. The Parks and Rec is reaching out through contacts to find qualified instructors that can teach, proper technique and groups of kids and other age groups. So we have that goal. We have, as you probably know, a pretty good inventory of bicycles that are in the shipping container at the pump track, and we're just working out how we can make those bicycles available. So if it's a weekday program and it's during business hours, Parks and Rec is available because that's their standard work week. If it's a weekend program, it's going to need volunteers to run the program because Parks and Rec generally doesn't work on weekends, only for their really big events where they can justify, paying their employees overtime, which is the way I understand it. So the need is for a group of volunteers to be vetted by the town. And you don't just show up by invitation and volunteer for a program, especially if it involves kids, run by the town of Groton or on town property. So I'm the first guinea pig to register or to apply to be a volunteer at the pump track. And the town's risk manager has looked into, kind of what's involved. And my understanding is preliminarily, it's going to be approvable for folks. It could be any of you. It could be members of the Bike Groton board to register with the town as a volunteer. And there's a number of forms. Well, there's 2 forms that you fill out. Has anyone, Tom, have you gone through this process?
No,
Okay.
I'm aware that there's each grouping that you want to put yourself has its own set of rules.
Yeah. Okay. So they want to look into your background, so you get a background check, and they want you just to fill out a couple of forms that explain what it is you're going to be doing and that sort of thing. So far, the request that I've made and that Parks and Rec has made is that the town approve volunteers at the pump track to run the bike loaning program, which would involve opening up the container, say on the weekend, at a certain time, a certain day, for a certain period of time, bringing out some of the bikes, checking them to make sure that their tires are inflated, the brakes work, that sort of thing. And then setting up a table with the forms that check the bikes out and then back in. And then that the user of the bike signs a release, or that their parent or guardian signs a release that indemnifies the town. Okay, so that's what's involved. It's pretty simple and straightforward, but you still have to go through the process to become authorized to do that. So we've talked about this at Bike Groton. I'm letting you all know in case you're interested in that. And then the next step is, once we have a pool of volunteers, is to figure out, how do you do it? Do you schedule folks? Do you say, dependent on the weather? There are variables here that would affect something like this. So
Can I make a
yes,
suggestion? I'll be quick.
sure.
My suggestion would be to do a trial run after school hours, sell it as an after school program, and have town staff work out all the kinks. So the people that are professionals already and know how to operate everything and have already met all the requirements for interacting with kids, have them do maybe 2 or 3 days after school for an hour or so, just to see how the process is going, how it is for the kids, how it is to distribute the bikes, and let them work everything out, and then bring in the people and train the people the proper way, rather than bringing in people cold and kind of learning with people that don't know anything about town expectations.
Good. I like that idea. I will say that we basically did something very similar at the grand opening where we had a Parks and Rec employee who, was asked to, if they asked for a volunteer and they had a employee volunteer to show up at the pump track for the grand opening, which was on a Saturday afternoon. That's right. And then, we unofficially, myself and another person, we brought all the bikes out. We inflated the tires. So they've been sitting around for a couple of years waiting to be used. So we acted as unofficial volunteers.
They're assistants.
Assistants. We were assistants. I guess we weren't really. We were just
To the staff.
just helping out. And then the Parks and Rec employee checked people out, checked the bikes out, the bikes back in, took care of the releases, and it went really well. And all the bikes were being used. It was really terrific. And everybody was behaving themselves on the track and letting the kids go first and waiting for the kids, and everything. It was great. So I think we're off to a good start. Okay, any questions about the pump track? Has everyone seen it?
Mhm.
I've seen people on it. I haven't personally used it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's awesome.
You've seen it, Lucas.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Lucas is a visitor who's going to have some things to say later, but I'll wait for that. Yeah, so I've been over there a lot because I love to ride it, and when I'm there, I'm meeting lots of people and I'm explaining what's going on and who I am and answering their questions about the track. And I've talked to parents with their little kids who are from out of town who are there because they've heard about it and their kids just really want to come over there. And once it's been visited, then the folks are definitely wanting to come back, and we've seen people coming back over and over. So it's been really great. It's been getting a lot of use, especially on weekends. All right, so now let's go back and review some of our old business. The first item is the downtown Mystic shared lane markings issue, and the status of that has been really in the hands of the Public Works Director, who has submitted the request for the signage and sharrows to be fabricated and installed by the town to the Transportation Authority. The Transportation Authority, or the Traffic Authority, excuse me, has not had a meeting. Let's see. Their last meeting was canceled and their next one is on December 18th. So they meet every other month. And so the last, which would have been the October meeting, was canceled. And
They had a special meeting in September where Greg did present.
correct. That's right. Thank you. He did present, so they are aware of the proposal.
Yeah, they sent him away with a bunch of lookups. And
Okay. All right.
because I did, that was posted, I did review the meeting on Zoom
Okay.
or on YouTube there.
Could you discern any?
They were supportive of it, but they had some questions, and
Yeah.
particularly like a cost and this type of stuff.
Okay.
So
Okay. So it might be a good idea for a representative from our committee to attend that December 18th meeting. And if I'm available, I will make that. One issue is that our Public Works Director is retiring the end of this year. So that is the end of December. And so I won't know whether he's available to attend a meeting on the 18th. But something to check on. That said, we will hopefully have a new Public Works Director at the beginning of the year. Okay, to be determined. Okay. The next item, this is brief, but have all of you been through the Noank Road project since it was completed, the Anderson Marsh BB Cove culvert replacement. We've been
I was there this morning and they're still working on the electrical
that
power
right.
lines and
So,
stuff.
so that's the
Yeah,
last.
they didn't seem completed.
That's the last bit. The utility companies are always the last.
They were the first and then the last.
The first and now the last to touch a project. Has anyone been on it, been through it on a bicycle?
Mm-mm.
I have.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting. And I live down there, so I commute through there twice every day. And it's interesting because over years of advocacy by Groton and then even this committee, I think got involved, persuaded the Department of Transportation to ensure that there would be at least a 4-foot shoulder, between the white painted line at the edge line and the curb, which has never been there before. It was narrower than that. So they did that, and it has widened the road. And if you ride your bike through there, you get about 350 feet of, this feels good. And then it's back into a narrower condition. And what I'm thinking about is, could you imagine this for the entire, Route 215 all the way into Mystic? And would that be a big improvement? And who would it really be an improvement for? Obviously, it would be an improvement for cyclists. But would it be an improvement for the safety of the road to everyone else? I'm not quite sure whether having that wider roadway would make it safer, because I think people driving the road might be tempted to drive faster on this wider roadway, even though the lanes are still the same width. It just opens it up. And that's the big conundrum when it comes to road design, is whether narrow roads are safer or dangerous. It really depends on the context.
But I feel like then there's more cyclists on it, then maybe they'll be more used to driving slower.
Hopefully. Yeah. So it has to be, there has to be a combination of constraints, let's say. So there's always speed limits. That's one constraint. The signage that tells people to be careful and look out. The kind of that Amy works on. It's automatic traffic control devices, so you get a ticket from the robot. That's another thing to think about. But anyway, it's just kind of interesting. It's a really well done project, though, I will say. The landscaping is really well done. The local, I think GOSA, actually, the Open Space Association, had established a couple of pollinator gardens in there that were destroyed, of course, because of the project. And the state landscaping unit has designed and then had installed like at least 3, I think.
They
Really
expanded
nice.
more than what GOSA originally had.
Yeah. And
The problem was that GOSA was actually encroaching on the state property where they put their flowers and all the pollinators. But state recognized that, they worked that out, and they actually put much more in than GOSA was expecting, and what was in the actual plan.
Yeah, it looks really good. So if you haven't been down there, take a look. Okay. So next item is the town projects. We typically get a report from Greg, and since he couldn't be here, basically I have his report. I'll pass it out
Thank
to
you.
everybody, which has come to me in a couple of emails from Greg. So I've just compiled this into one memorandum. It starts by saying the roads we are looking at including in next year's CIP, that's capital improvements program for repaving. So the CIP is typically funded internally by the town. These roads are River Road, which has been talked about and suffered through by all the cyclists for several years now. Bayview Avenue, Bayview and Mystic. So Bayview, I believe, is up on the hill near the former Butler Elementary School. Does that sound right?
That neighborhood, yeah.
Yes, okay. And then all the rest are in the Bailey Hill neighborhood. So all these streets, so apparently that's a very old subdivision neighborhood and the streets are all in poor condition. And I don't know where Bailey Hill
It's
is.
on Military
Away.
Highway, just past Fairview.
Oh, okay, so it's
Between
something,
Fairview and the sub base.
okay, up on the
Halfway
very,
there.
Elementary
Where the
model.
stop sign is between the two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, all right, got it, thank you. Okay, and then he also mentioned, so these emails kind of start with today and they go back in time a little bit. I have a preliminary paving list, which I just mentioned, but they are developing Public Works, it is cost estimates to determine which of these roads will be in the proposed fiscal year 27 CIP. The approval to install shared lane markings and signs is still with the traffic authority. Their last meeting was canceled. I already mentioned that. The Route 1 sidewalk between Kings Highway and Bridge Street has been installed. I haven't seen that. Have you-
It's there.
Tap,
So
yeah.
Okay.
Wooden tap.
Yeah.
that was a gap
Yeah.
in a pretty critical segment that allows people to walk shopping center all the way through along the Route 1 corridor now. So that's really good. It looks like I duplicated the same thing at the bottom. Okay, so that's the Public Works report.
I have just one more quick question, and maybe it's to Deb. They, since Mr. Hanover has been the steady person coming to our meetings and carrying messaging back to town staff, are you feeling like there'll be continuity? If he goes away in December, is there gonna be budget? Because the budget's done in December. Well, the budget's not done. They put the request in December, and will there be advocacy to continue for these items that we're looking for?
Yeah, there will certainly through the town engineer.
Okay.
Who's not leaving. And my understanding is, candidates have been interviewed for the Public Works Department, for the director, sorry. And the intent is to have someone on staff for like a week or two, at the same time as Greg is here. So I think there will be continuity.
Is Miss
Christmas holidays.
I know, that's, we'll see if it
Is it
actually
true?
happens, but yes,
Is he doing the budget?
he is. He's
Okay,
going
good.
to do the budget before he leaves.
Okay.
Yes,
Oh, that's very
It really
magnanimous
is.
of him.
yes, it is.
Maybe that's why he couldn't be here today. He's
Thank you.
working away. All right, great. Okay, so are there any other issues, projects that anyone wants to bring up? Okay, hearing none. We have a visitor today, Lucas Huesman from the Connecticut Cycling Advancement Program, the CCAP. Lucas is the events director, and he's going to tell us about that program. So, all yours, Lucas.
Yeah, well, Dan right here, this is good.
Yeah, sure.
Do we need you on mic?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Maybe if you want to come over to, yeah, there you go.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Up to you, really.
Tom, do you need copies of these for your minutes?
No, I got it right here.
Okay,
You guys can
Pass these on to you.
thank you.
Yeah, hello. Hi, everyone. I'm Lucas. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you, Brian, for inviting me in. It was very nice to listen to your meeting and everything you guys are talking about. A lot of bike stuff being incorporated, and it was very nice to listen to Amy as well. And yeah, so about me, I'm Lucas. I'm from Snowington, and I grew up here. And I just came back from Colorado from school, and I was a professional racer on my bike for road cycling, and now I'm working as the event director for the CCAP, as Brian said, the Connecticut Cycling Advance Program. And what our mission is to put more kids on bikes and to help the youth and young adults just to strive and become healthier and grow while riding a bike. So what we do is we do school programs where we run clubs through different schools across the state of Connecticut, and we also run regional teams where we have kids from different schools who are competing on the same team. And we also run races where they race mountain bikes or on the road or in cyclocross, which is a completely different discipline, hard to explain, but it's a really fun discipline of cycling. And so we run races, but we also run a lot of community events and the clubs from the schools. Not all the kids race; it's mostly just for fun. And yeah, so I actually started in the program when I was 12. Is when I started riding my bike a little bit more seriously because I found the CCAP. And so I grew up through the program and I ended up racing all over the country and racing professionally in Colorado, like I said. And I just feel like it's a great program and I'm very passionate about getting more kids on bikes and having the same experience that I did. And so I kind of, and I'm sitting here as a testimony as well through our program as like, um, this was a very great experience growing up and it taught me a lot of valuable life lessons. And what we're trying to do is provide a way for kids to kind of find an outlet to grow into a different sport or maybe just as a person in general and find these different like little niche little ways to kind of incorporate riding a bike into your everyday life. So yeah, so I was talking to Brian about Bike Groton, and I'm also on the board of Bike Stonington now. Now that I'm back home and working along Jen Lackner, and so we were talking about like a couple different ways we can incorporate maybe my program into just the community here in Groton, Mystic, Stonington as well. And yeah, so yeah, and so I am more so looking to just kind of just talk about like what we do and yeah, if you guys have any questions for me, and yeah.
Yeah, can you tell us about some of the local teams and clubs that have been around and what you may be thinking about adding or establishing?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so our program has been around for 13 years now, started in 2000, what was that, 13, 12? 2012. And one of the biggest schools that we have a school club program is at Ledyard Middle School. And the coach there is Kristen Gallagher. And so how our club teams work at the schools is we have teachers as the coaches and as the head coaches that run the team, and parents as well. And so Ledyard Middle School has been running around for 10 years, and they gotten to the point where they have 60 kids on their club. And what they do is right after school, they head on over to the bike shed, and they have a big shed in the back of their school that they built. And they also got, we helped them get a grant to get bikes. So they have a bunch of specialized bikes, all the same, all look the same, and they're all different sizes for the kids, and they're all hung up in the shed. And so Coach Gallagher goes out to the shed, brings out all the bikes, has some help from the parents and from the kids, and they go out and they have trails in the back of their yard and in the back of the school, which was owned by Pfizer. And yeah, they have a bunch of trails back there, and they ride around and they do it after school every week, and it's during the fall and also during the spring as well. And so yeah, it's a really cool program. A lot of the kids love it, and I actually go and coach myself sometimes, and I've ridden with the kids and seen a lot of just like what it does to the kids is it's amazing. And what Coach Gallagher told me from her experience is like you get kids that are maybe troubled or not doing too well in school or they're getting picked on. And when they come to bike practice and they get on their bike, they're a completely different person. They're changed and you can see the growth over time as like kids really use cycling as like a good healthy outlet to kind of, get away from some of those things in school that might be troubling them, as well as just I don't know, the team is such a great community as well. So yeah, that's
So what are you hoping for in Groton and or Stonington or other places that you're covering?
right. So like one of our biggest things that we're pushing for right now is middle school teams, because middle schools, like you guys were talking about before, like the kids are going to be a lot more engaged. Just a little bit. We do high schools as well, but just a little bit different because but we're looking for adding more teams to the area in Connecticut, and I'm also coming over to Groton because Groton is such a perfect middle school, whereas they have Haley's Farm and Bluff Point right in their backyard, and a way to get there, and which is what we're looking for because um, um, having a school club will it just makes it a lot easier when you have, let's say, mountain biking in your backyard. So I think we're talking about Groton was a cool school that we would like to maybe get to know get some more relations in there as well as contacts, and it would be great to start a club as we have at Ledyard because it's such a great program. So yeah.
I have an idea.
Mhm.
Um, a local elected official, his wife works at Groton Middle School and he is an avid cyclist. He used to ride to and from York Correctional. He's a teacher at
Cool.
York Correctional. And I'm wondering if we could kind of hook him in and get him and his wife started right at Groton Middle, but it is perfect look. Our school is actually adjacent right to Groton Middle.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
But I'd be happy to reach to them and see if they're interested, if you want to share contact info.
Of course. Yeah,
Do that.
definitely.
So what Patrice just alluded to is she's an educator and Lori is as well at Grasso Technical
Mhm.
High School, right? Which is on the same hill with the Groton Middle School. It's just down the hill from Groton Middle
Mhm.
School. And you know, that's High School Hill up there, I guess you could say.
It's like a huge campus because
Yeah.
Fitch High School's
They're all-
there.
Yeah, I've been in there a bunch for
Right.
like concerts, like chorus and band
Yeah.
and sports and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't Jim Dolan doing
He's
he was trying to get a bike club going, so I know that there's some interest
Mhm.
at Grosso. I don't know why he wasn't able to kind of get it off the ground, but I think it's in the early stages maybe. So
Yeah.
we could hook you up with Jim Dolan because I know he's been trying to do that as well. He
That
works
would be
at Groton.
amazing. That'd be
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
Maybe like a co-op thing like they do with football.
Yeah.
A couple
Yeah, and like
schools
band, they
together.
work like Fifth
Yeah,
and Grosso
band.
works together. So like they might be able to do kind of a shared club.
Yeah,
kind of
for sure.
between that.
Yeah, as long as it's like one teacher in the school district that is like helping run the club. That's all we need. And then like from there, like all the kids can be from different schools as long as within the same district to be in that club. Yeah.
It sounds like we have people in the school system here that could help make this happen. We have Clint Kennedy, who's a big supporter, and the folks that you all are familiar with. And we just need to get everybody together with Lucas so he can explain to them what needs to happen, and then we can start thinking about
The only
it.
thing I worry about, you mentioned this same school district, because we've got multiple school districts here. Grasso's part of state district, the Marine Magnet's part of the separate school district, and then you've got the Groton School District, so.
Right. I wouldn't know how that
So
would
you got
really.
these two, you got some sub-districts within the big district.
For sure,
So I
for
don't
sure.
know what your rules are.
About the regional team also.
Right. Okay. Yeah. The regional team. So like, let's say we have one in Norwich right now where it's the practices happen over at Mohegan Park. And the regional teams are cool because we have kids coming from different schools, and they have a certain like practice that they go to. And those are like mostly like volunteer coaches from parents. A lot of parents volunteer coach. And the cool thing about that is we teach the parents how to coach because we have coaching summits and coaching trainings from professional coaches that we bring in to help teach them. And then we also have everyone like Safe Sport certified, kind of like how Brian was talking about the pump tracks. It's like we are very serious about USA Cycling as an organization. It's very serious about making sure everyone is background checked with the kids and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, the regional teams are cool because they can travel like across the state to race because we hold races all around like over in Wallingford and Hartford, Middletown, and so forth. So yeah, that's yeah. And that's what I mostly did was like we didn't have a school team at Stonington. Like we didn't have any kids. We were trying to get one going, but I eventually just did a regional team over in Lyme, and at the time, like that's where the team was, and I met a lot of my best friends were from across the state, like over in Mansfield. I had friends over in New Haven, and yeah, it taught me a lot about more about the state, honestly, because like instead of being in the bubble that we're in over here in the Southeast. But yeah.
I would say, why don't we try to invite people to our next meeting? And if you
Yes.
can come back, if we could do it in maybe not December, maybe January, but get it done before budget season starts. You're looking at like March is going to be crazy. It starts in March with budget. So if we can get the preliminary meeting in, then make the introductions and then everybody could start doing their thing off on their own. And then you'd have all summer long to get something organized for the fall. If we wanted something in place for the fall, the new school year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd love to come back for sure.
Which, may I ask your last name?
Huesman, Huesman. Yeah.
It's on the agenda.
Hmm?
It's on the agenda.
Where?
At the bottom.
The visitor.
Okay, so just while we're on the calendar. Oh, we updated the.
Yeah, you got the
agenda.
old agenda.
You got the old.
Yeah, people worked on the day.
It was set out over the weekend.
See if this is the one that I printed this yesterday. I waited. Hughesman, thank you.
Yeah.
We're good, we're good, we're good.
There's an updated.
You can keep that.
So while we're talking about future meetings, the next meeting of this committee is December 17th, which is good because that's the day before the
Traffic Authority at
Traffic
1
Authority.
p.m. or 1:30.
Okay, so we can all be tuned into that. And then the January meeting is a little bit later in the month because of the way the days fall. It's on the 21st, January 21st. And that might be the meeting where we get the folks from the school to come, and you can come back if you're available, and maybe we can make contacts and start to plot
For sure.
a plan forward. So I think I just have one more question, and that is what you've described as far as school programs so far is strictly mountain biking. But I know that, at the beginning you mentioned there's road cycling activities and cyclocross. And I think you were focused on road cycling, right?
Yep.
So how would that work? Do the schools really need to focus on mountain biking because adjacency to trails and you can only have so many bikes, and regional teams are more about other racing activities?
Yeah, for sure. A lot of the regional teams do all three disciplines, mostly. Especially like our Hartford teams and our New Haven teams, because most of the races are around there, but they do all. And also there's not really like a restriction on the school teams. Like they don't have to be like a strictly mountain bike. It just happens to be mountain bike is the easiest to get the kids into because it's the most honestly, it's the most fun. It's like you're not riding with cars. But at the same time, we can we've had school clubs that are road cycling as well, and they also do cyclocross. It's like more up to the coach, like the teacher or professional that is working with the kids, because they can do both if they wanted to. Like at Ledyard, there was a high school coach that was a teacher at the Ledyard High School that did road and mountain bike as well for a little bit. So yeah.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah, and also, Amy, if you want to reach out to me, or maybe I can get your contact from Brian. I would really like to talk to you as well, because I really love everything that you're doing as well, and I think that we can kind of benefit from a relationship there.
Yeah, that'd be great. Grab my information from Brian. It's too long to write down right now. But
yeah.
Also, I am a little familiar with your program. Did you know David Hoyle?
Yeah, David was he's mainly
awesome.
the reason why I'm here for sure.
Is he really? Oh,
Yes.
that's amazing. Yes, he was a very good friend of
Oh, nice.
of my ex-husband now, but yeah. So
Nice.
that was very sad. He was someone who passed away a few years back, but he was an avid cyclist and really awesome. So I have a little familiarity with your program and be happy to meet with you and talk about how we could partner up.
That would be amazing for sure. Thank you.
Awesome.
And then our website is there's a QR code on here, but if you don't like QR codes, you can just look up ctbikes.org, and that would take you to our website, and there's a ton of information on there as well.
Great. All right. Thank you, Lucas.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Amy. Thanks for coming. Bye, Cindy, you got to stay there a second longer. Okay, so I mentioned our next meeting is December 17th. Wednesday, 3:30, the same room here. And now I think we can have a motion to adjourn.
So moved. I'll second.
All right. Thank you all. Meeting adjourned.
So do you want me to ask JC to be here?
Yes. So, and I can reach out, Clint.
Okay.
and ask